Hi there, Robin here from Expert On, and today we are talking about Mackie mixers, and this particular one happens to be the ProFX8 version 2. Yes, the version 2. Now, I've got the actual manual in front of me because I thought this was a great way to describe it. It's a professional FX mixer with USB, and the USB is the key feature about this. Now, it's got a lot of great features on it. The other great feature is the actual feedback suppression system on it. Now, they have a great terminology and word for that, so I'm going to pick up the box, flip it over and get it in the right direction, and it's right here. It's called a Vita preamp, a discrete class A front end with dual feedback stabilization for unmatched low noise performance. Now, I'm going to demonstrate how that works because I think that's just really a great reason to buy this on top of the USB. If you're looking for a mixer that you can then bring your stuff back and forth between your computer and your mixer, this is really a great way to go. If you're going to be posting your music or whatever you're going to be using this for, it's one of the key reasons to buy it. Now, it's incredibly reasonably priced. That's the big plus about it. Now, it does come with software, and it's licensed software. Again, right with the instruction manual, you'll find that card. Do not throw away that card. That is the key to actually getting your attraction and music production software. So, we'll put that aside because, well, it's important. So, without ado, here we go. We've got ourselves the 8-channel. Now, this is an actual 8-channel because we do have our 4 mic lines carried alongside channel 5 and 6 paired off, 7 and 8 paired off. Now, I did, as you can see, if you've watched any of my other videos, I do like using 1/4-inch to RCA adapters because I do like to have my phone plugged into the mixer because that's what I do. So plug that guy right back in. Now remember, all their channels are balanced and unbalanced as options, so depending on the type of cables you're using, as long as it's all hooked up properly, you're going to have no problems. If you find any buzzing or humming, you probably have the wrong cable hooked up into the wrong equipment in the wrong place. One combination or another will cause problems. Most of the time, if you've got it right, perfect. Now, just like the other Pro series, now I'm going to grab manual one more time because they do have a lot of choices. Now, this is the 8, and we do review on the 12 channel, but there's also a 16 channel, 22, and a 30 channel. So if you really need something huge, you can get that. And they all follow the same rules. They just keep getting longer and longer and longer, so you can add more and more stuff into it. Now, getting into that, if we cover on the actual unit itself, just like the other Mackie models, color-coded buttons, all the knobs, all color-coded. The sliders are incredibly smooth and consistent. I was just actually playing with a generic one just before we started doing this video, and I want to know, are they all good, or are some good and some aren't so good? And I paid attention to that, and no, some of the generic brands, so all the name brands seem to be okay, but the generic brands, definitely consistency is not. On one mixing board, you'll have something that's very smooth and quiet. You'll have one that's really tight and crackly and choppy, so you try and move it up and it jump because it's binding inside. So definitely, you know, always nice with the brand names when you're buying. And again, you're buying into a professional product here, even though they're at consumer price points. It's because it's not, you know, a 24 or 32 or anything like that in size. So they're still giving you all the same quality, just less of it. So if you're doing any home production work, your small studio, a small band, anything where you're on your own, or you just want to learn how it all works, this is a great way to start, because I make reference to driving cars a lot with this. And again, once you learn how to use this mixer and you feel comfortable with this mixer, you can easily use other brands or other size mixers because they just get bigger. They're still the same. I mean, if you can drive a car, you can drive pretty much any car. So that's what's going on here. All right, so one of the other good features about Mackie is they do sell, in place of having to use these nice plastic, if you're standing it on its own, great. If you've got a rack mount system and you want to mount it, they do offer the wings for all their products, which is good. This model also comes with, and this counts for all the Pro FX series, they have 1/4-inch on the back. Now this does exclude the FX4 because the FX4 doesn't have that, nor does it have USB on it either. So putting that one aside, all the other models have everything we're talking about. Now, if we cover the actual buttons, the only thing that changes on the first 4 is the very first one, because they use a feature they like to call, I always have to read, it's the high Z or high Z button, which allows you to switch between the mic and the guitar input just right there. So just change the impedance, change the setup of that, so this way it sounds right. I'm not exactly sure what the science or technology is behind it, but I do know it works, and that's important. So, outside of that, again, the 4 channels here are going to repeat themselves. Everything else is the same. Every knob, slider, everything is all the same, all the buttons. So, what do we have when we look down the first row? We've got our, of course, the XLR 3-pin balanced right on top for our microphone. Then we've got the line in, which is also either balanced or unbalanced. And then you have the insert, which if you're using a processor of any sort, instead of having to go plug your mic into the processor and then take the XLR out and plug that into here, it gives you the ability to just tap right into the actual unit. You're using balanced cables usually between two. There'll only be one spot on the back of the processor just to match up with the one spot that's here. And then you can have things like your compressor, your effects, your reverb, your balance controls, your tone controls, all that kind of stuff. Depends on the models of processors you get, but that's how they work. This is how you plug it in with one single cable. Next, gain control. So this is different than the actual level control down here. So the actual line level control at the bottom is different than the gain. This is going to adjust how sensitive this input line is. So it's used, if you're talking about microphone, it's going to change the actual how far the cardio goes out on. The cardio is the actual size dimension of the microphone and where the sound gets picked up. So it's basically going to create a larger effect or a smaller effect for pickup. So if you want to hold the mic further away, you're going to need higher gain. Now remember, if you're using it live, that's definitely going to make a difference between how much feedback you may or may not get. Now, following that, we've got a button, and the button says low out. Now this, a lot of people see this and not sure what to do with it. If you're in a situation where, let's say you're using this in your garage and stuck to the outside of the wall is the air conditioner unit and it hums, that hum's going to be a low frequency. Or if you have fans in the room, they're going boom, 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 boom. That's going to cut that kind of noise out. There's all kinds of other stuff like air blowing through air ducts, that sort of thing. That's really what that's for. Again, any transformer noise, background humming sounds that you end up hearing when it's quiet on your system, that'll cut that out. Then you've got the blue knobs, which are your 3-band EQ, so you get your high, medium, and low. Then you get your auxiliary control here, and we'll cover that when we look at the auxiliary plug on the other side, along with the monitor slider. And then all the amber colored knobs, and they make them bright and colorful, so this way you can see them in the dark. The amber color one is for your effects, and then the gray one that's just below it is for your panning left and right, which again, I think if you're buying a mixer and it has this on it, icing on the cake. If it doesn't, you might want to look at a different model. So that's why this mixer is important. As a band, anytime I'm recording multi-tracks, I want to be able to control that, so this way when it plays back on a set of headphones or speakers, it's going to sound really good, and that's the important part, right? So button at the bottom is for the mute, and that's to mute the actual channel. There's tons of good reasons to have mute there, and your creativity and your imagination pretty much puts it to play. Now the important things to think about is a scenario would be, I have an announcer at a live show. His microphone's not part of everybody else. That's it there. In a church or anywhere else, maybe you might have a podium set up and you want to mute them out. You can do that. Maybe you're setting everybody up and you don't want to necessarily turn on their mics until they're actually on stage. That's another way to do it. Maybe the lead singer sings with 2 different kind of mics. So you can turn one off and on just by hitting the mute, so this way you're not picking up both of them. Then you've got your slider, so you can adjust everything across the board. And the idea here is do your necessary adjustments. Then when you get to the very end, you just turn up the main. So this way everything is proportionally mixed now, and you just push it all up and down. Now, at the same time, we do have all these. We went across the first 4. The next ones are just stereo paired channels. So we get a left and right. So now we're up to channel 5, which gives us 5 and 6, then 7 and 8, on the next channel bank. There, it's the 7A is the only one that doesn't have a microphone on top of it. But that's okay. At least it gives us a full line of input jacks. To finish off the jacks that are on top, we had our stereo return channel, our FX, our monitor send, and our main out on 1/4 inch. Then we had our foot switch and our headphones, our phone input jack, and then one button below it, that's our phantom power for any like condenser style microphones that don't have a battery in it. Make sure of that when you're plugging it in. Anyways, so now to finish off with the levers, this is going to work in what we were looking at there. Our stereo return channel, which were these two plugs here, we can find on this slider here. Nice. Then we have our effects return channel. So the effects return channel now has to do with all these amber knobs, which are all part of the effects. The echo, the reverb, that sort of thing that's built in. 16 different settings, all there for you. Now, the Pro Series has a mute button for the effects right here, and that works in conjunction with the foot switch, which is located right here. It's an option you can get for it. Turn it on and off just by hitting the foot switch. Boom, you're good. That's the same as pressing the mute button there. You might not always want your effects on. That allows you an easy way to turn it off and on without having to physically come to the unit, hit the mute, or hit the slider and bring it all the way down. So there we are. The monitor. The monitor is, of course, our stage monitor, our rehearsal room monitor, that sort of thing. That's what we're going to be putting here. And that also, if I'm plugged into the monitor output, great. Whatever I turn this and adjust it to, and everything that's on, boom, is going to come through there. If I do have chosen my auxiliaries, auxiliaries allows me to hook up a monitor for somebody who's now going to get to choose what they're listening to. For the auxiliary output on the actual unit, you're going to be adjusting the actual knobs and deciding how much of what actual input am I going to get to listen to. And that is what's going on here. There we go. So, main output. And we had was a 7-band EQ, so you can again adjust that. And they do give you two buttons just below the EQ, which is to turn the EQ on and off. Basically, they call it EQ in or bypass. Bypass means even though I've set it, we're not going to use it. And then on this side here, you get to decide if it's part of the main mix or the monitor 1 output. All there. There we go. So, one of the other big features, whoops, we almost missed it, our USB. We were talking so much about the USB at the beginning, we almost missed it. So USB through, or I can gain control of the USB, and that's what's going to go on right here. And this allows me to take in what I have going on our USB input channel from our computer. Ta-da. All right, now what I am going to do is I'm going to take the microphone. I'm going to now show you the nice feature, the one feature that really stands out on this unit. There's a lot of great features. This is the one that stands out, and that is the ability to control the actual feedback that I normally have a problem with. Now, here I am in proximity. I'm less than a foot away. I'm going to be right next to it. I'm actually going to slide the mixer out of the way because we don't need that in front of us right now. So we'll take this. We'll slide that over here. And we'll use this right here. So now, I'm not just in proximity to it or facing directly looking at it. I'm actually running right next beside it, to the point that you actually hear the return of the actual microphone on the speaker. So it's not just picking up me, it's picking up the speaker. But amazingly enough, it's not a runaway feedback problem. It's really taking care of that job. That's really, really a big, big feature on this. So if you're working in a small room, a small environment, that is a huge plus. A room that's all bricked up. If you're in, let's say, a church is always a good example, right? Not a lot of carpet, the walls aren't padded. Your acoustics are horrible sometimes, though it sounds great. This is a great way to get rid of that feedback issue. Now, I say that, and I'll talk to you about the effects. The more the effects you dial into it, the less control the feedback suppression seems to have. It seems to get lost a little bit in between, a mix between effects and feedback. So, I want to say dial it and adjust it here. Like I said, that's it. All I had to do was turn it on. Yes, I did get that spike for a moment, but it found it, it got rid of it, and now we have no problems with it. There you go. Now, There's all kinds of great things you can do with it. I think it's another one of those great bang for the bucks. If you're looking for something that you can hook up to your computer, if you're looking for something that you can use with all your other equipment, and you're looking for something that's not going to be a problem, an issue on the road, and you're looking for an 8-channel mixer, probably the Mac is going to be one of your choices that you're really going to like into. There are some other models in the same price range. It'll be up to you. I'll call it a Coke and Pepsi option, but for sure, I'm really happy that we have this, and I think if you got one of these, you'd probably enjoy it too. All right. I'll have all the details of this unit and references to some other models that Mackie has in the same line, and we'll also take care of any points of reference, like the links to our site and all that kind of stuff, all down in the comments down below. If you like the video, or if you have any questions or comments, leave them also down below. If you subscribe, thank you very much. If you haven't, I hope now's a good time. Thank you. We'll see you next time.